It is the fourth Thursday of the month, of course, which means yesterday was the Committee of the Whole and City Council meeting. That was March 25th, held, of course, at the Elgin City Hall at 150 Dexter Court. If you want to check out more information on the agenda, physically find it, and even check out the video that was posted onto their website. That is elginvideo.cityofelgin.org is where you can find all of that information here. And we are welcomed again back here in the studio with us today, of course, Mayor Dave Captain. Thanks so much for joining us today.
I'm happy to be here, Matt. It's really been, it's one of those days where hope springs eternal. It's a
Yes.
beautiful day. It's opening day at Wrigley Field, so
Nice. That's
we
fun.
look at 160 baseball games for the future.
That is going to
So
be
that's
fun.
good stuff,
Definitely.
and it's
Definitely.
going to be a good day in there.
Absolutely. And it's sunny outside now, so folks, get outside before you have to get indoors for the storm here. Mayor Dave Captain, thanks again for joining us today. We have, of course, the initiatives and some other items. What I wanted to do was I wanted to start off here talking a little bit about the special presentations and reports. There is a lot to kind of unpack here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start talking about what is listed as F on the agenda here. It's the micromobility device that includes e-bikes, e-scooters, and e-motors regulations. There's an update and some discussion on the proposed statewide legislation, if you want to go into some detail on that.
Yes, and that was, it's been controversial around the state. A number of communities have started to regulate e-bikes, and there are a wide range of motorized vehicles of different sizes and shapes, and the state now is starting to look at it as well. I just saw that Batavia passed some regulations, and I think one of the things that Geo Jungo and Commander Holmes talked about was the fact that they didn't like the fact that things were going to be like a patchwork quilt. So you go
Hmm.
across a county line or a city line, and you get a different set of rules. So there
Right.
has to be some consistency. So this is one of those things where the state really needs to step up and take a close look at this. And there are they went through and talked about the number. I was amazed at the number of different types of e-vehicles
Hmm.
that are out there.
It's
And
growing in number.
oh, it is, and that really is the problem. The state did have some regulations on it, and I think what's happened is that the growth of the numbers and types of vehicles and the motors that are on them has grown exponentially, and been a tough time for the legal part to keep up with it.
Hmm.
And these are all about safety issues here because they're pretty vulnerable when you're riding on that. But I'll just go down a list here. They call it micromobility in Illinois, and they list as some of the vehicles: an electric unicycle, an electric skateboard, an electric scooter, an electric bicycle, and an electric motorbike. So there's five different ones. They have all different sizes. There are three different classes of bicycle. That can go different speeds, and it's really kind of a going to be a difficult thing to regulate, and it's going to be a very difficult thing to enforce unless you see somebody. But obviously, I just saw in the paper that I believe yesterday or day before, a young person was killed on a scooter and was hit by a car. And some of these things they don't have the safety requirements that motorcycles or cars have and other vehicles. So they need to start looking at upgrade that. There's no helmet laws for some of these,
Hmm.
and as Matt and I were talking about this, I said I can't imagine somebody riding on a unicycle that can go 50 miles an hour without having a helmet. I said I'm not even sure that there is a way to protect somebody.
Right.
If you bounce off a curb or you hit a tree branch or something, you're going to get dumped on the pavement. And I think those are kind of things that they have to have a discussion about.
Hmm.
Some of the things that I think were really um, amazing to me was the speed of some of these, and there are different kinds of bicycles that can go up to 50 miles an hour, and do people have to have a driver's license? There are no regulations for those. So you can have a bicycle that goes 50 miles an hour. One of the things that was brought up was I believe it was scooters. that in certain areas, a scooter, you had to have you had to be 16 years old or to drive one, or 18 years old, and you could get a driver's license for a car, and you could had to, and for a scooter, you can go as fast as you can in a car and didn't have to have a license.
Hmm.
So those are the kind of things that they're trying to straighten out. And uh, electric skateboards, for example, can go 40 miles an hour. Now, those are things I see young people in my neighborhood, and again, many of these are adults, but some are also children that are on vehicles that they don't may not know the regulations. And I've seen young people on a scooter go right through a stop sign and go across the main street.
Hmm.
And I said, that's something that we're going to have to try to work with. It's got to probably be more than just saying, well, you're going to have a helmet. There's going to have to be some kind of licensing. And I believe in Elgin, as part of our enforcement, if if they find out that somebody's had complaints against them and they've been stopped before, they can impound their vehicle.
Hmm.
And so there, things like that. But I think this whole thing has been growing and growing and growing, and we're trying to. I've had some emails about people complaining, but it's usually just a neighborhood thing. It's not
Yeah.
something that is universal. To be honest, they said that Elgin has been very safe, and we haven't had many
Hmm.
accidents and injuries. But as I talked to other council members about this, I said, and that'll be fine until a young person gets killed on it,
Right.
and then people are going to say, well, why didn't you fix that? Well, how come you let that happen?
Hmm.
And so I think they're trying to be preemptive here a little bit, and we had quite a nice presentation and a pretty good discussion about it.
Definitely. Some of them also have they give off loud noises too, which sometimes you're in a neighborhood and that can kind of maybe scare some dogs. I know I have a
Yeah.
dog, and there's I think maybe just one person in particular in our neighborhood that I sometimes will see on a motor scooter like that, and it makes kind of a loud noise, and they go pretty fast as well. But that's just any motorcycle or car could also scare an animal too. But yes, definitely, that's the micromobility device regulations. If you want to read a little bit more about it, you can find it under the special presentations and reports. The second thing I wanted to touch base on is a little bit more on the discussion of adopting an ordinance to support and foster inclusivity and diversity in the city of Elgin, brought to the attention of through council members Dixon and Alfaro as well.
Yes, and this has been ongoing now. I think it started in December. Um, so this has gone through a number of work through in a couple of meetings so far. Last night's meeting focused on the amount of work that would have to go into really fine tuning this ordinance, and staff asked for extra time. They said they cannot possibly get this ordinance back to the city council. They're going to need 60 more days, and that's going to be their target date. It'll be around the 1st of June to bring something back. But to backtrack a little bit, this started out, and the conversation was, well, we wanted to make this as part of a welcoming city ordinance, and they council members Alfara and Dixon and some of the other council members felt that that would be a problematic to try to get passed, so they changed the name and want to call it an inclusivity and diversity ordinance. And that's fine. We started to have the discussion. Council said, let's go ahead and move forward on that discussion, and that's kind of where we're at. But what's happened is, I remember, and this sticks with me a lot, when they said, well, I said, I think you're making a mistake here. I think that you should look at these as each one of the things that are part of this are uh, relevant enough that they should be their own policy, and there should be their own statement. They're trying to put it all in one group.
Hmm.
And I said always makes it harder to get it approved, and it makes it a longer discussion. And one of the comments was, well, this is like we'd like to see it under one umbrella. Well, that umbrella now has become a big tent. And so
Hmm.
this got bigger and bigger and bigger. And as every time you do that and add on, um, the conversation gets longer. And there are more issues that are brought up. And I always talk about peeling an onion. I said, you start doing this, well, you found this, now we have to do that. And that's why this time is being extended. And the residents that were there were upset. Well, this has dragged on already since December. and now we're into approaching April, and we still haven't gotten anything. And now you're telling us it's going to be another 60 days. We want to. It can't be done early because staff has to go through this. And I'll go through some of the things that were in here. They asked us to send in and as council members to send in our issues, what we thought were important to be added to this, and what needed to be done to make this be a viable document. And I'll give you the short list here from some people. 3 people responded. 3 council members responded. Council member Ortiz, I responded, and Council member Powell. And Council member Ortiz looked at things where there was some overlap. So he talked a little bit more about deletions and things that we already do, and how to look at this, and how do we look at this. And there's a fundamental disagreement among council members as to whether this should be an ordinance covering all of these things, or are these policies. So that's got to be has to be resolved as we move forward here. What's this going to end up being? And council member talk about an annual review, that there should be a review done. Some of these things can be deleted and changed, and he's very much into saying that this should be policy driven. We talked about federal funding received by the city. How is this going to impact federal funding? Are there going to be some problems with that? One of the portions of this new document is a legal defense fund, and a legal defense fund for people that have been picked up and are undocumented, and they want to set aside some money to do that. That was the original intent. The where that started to grow is Councilmember Powell wanted to make this more inclusive and be inclusive. And I'll read you exactly what she says here. She wanted to broaden the purpose to explicitly recognize racial disparities and inequities, and commit to inequitable treatment across race, national origin, and immigration status. She wanted to broaden the scope to include civil matters such as eviction defense, housing discrimination, and predatory lending that disproportionately impact immigrant and Black and brown communities, and require demographic reporting of those to track usage by race and immigration status. She wanted to expand to include formerly incarcerated individuals, residents who lost their documentation, unhoused individuals, and victims of domestic violence. So each one of those things adds another wrinkle to this. And how do we do that? How do we fund this? How do we select those people? And that's kind of where my approach was. Councilmember Powell goes on. We're talking about language and how do we approach getting the communication out with this. They want to do some tracking. She would like to see some tracking, and to trace historically underrepresented racial and ethnic communities, and funding considerations for the legal defense fund should be looked at, and cost of administration. That's kind of what was my approach, and I look at it from there. So what I've asked for are things that are going to, everything else is going to have to be fleshed out before they get to what I really look at. One of the things I asked is in the document, they talk about, well, it's a resident. I said, you need to define what a resident is.
Mhm.
Is there a residency requirement? Like, do you have to live here 90 days to be apply for some of these things? Or
Mhm.
is there a number? That was not defined. Establish income levels for some of these things. Are we going to provide a legal assistance to people that are wealthy because of this? Should there be an income requirement? The municipal identification card is another issue, and that's part of that. As part of this, they want to have a municipal identification card. There is one in Chicago. They call it City Key, and initially when they did it, they took information from people to identify where they lived and so on and so forth, their telephone number. And when they did that, the federal government asked to see all of those, and it caused them a problem. And now they don't really want to do that. So I've asked, I said, what is this going to do for us? What is this ID going to do for us if it doesn't tell who you are?
Mhm.
So it's just going to be a picture ID, but what's going to be the purpose of it? In Chicago, basically, it boils down, you can get a library card and you get some discounts on certain events if you're a resident of the city.
Mhm.
So if that's where we're going to go with that, what do we need to put on this, and what's the purpose? I want to include a public comment period at the end of this and outreach so that people are familiar with what this is. So we'll go out to the community as part of the proposal. The original proposal, Councilmember Alfara requires that anything that documents that the city does and signs or documents that come out are in English and Spanish as part of communication, and that they should be written so that they can be understood by someone at a sixth grade level. So I've asked that this thing be, if we do this document, it's going to be the biggest document that's going to affect these people. That should be the first test case, is write this so that it can be in both legalese and at a sixth grade level in English and Spanish, so that everybody can, and then let's have the discussion so that everybody's involved. And I think lastly is we start to look at cost estimates. And as part of my job, that's my job, we'd have to look at the bottom line. And what's the bottom line going to be for this? How many people do we have? Are we going to have new employees that have to do this? What's the legacy cost? I mean, if we hire a person, they're going to have fringe benefits and retirement and pensions that go with this. What are the costs in wages? How much money is it going to take? When you start talking lawyers, and the numbers that have been, I guess, from the immigration response people, that there are 300 people that have been detained or arrested. If each of those requires legal assistance, how much is it going to cost?
Mhm.
And then where do we get the money to do this? So there's a lot of questions here and a lot of moving parts on this. And those discussions will have to be had by this community. Where it was left last night, staff was directed to go out and do the due diligence, go through all of these things and all the requests of the council. They're giving the council members another a bite of the apple and allowing them to go and say, well, if you've got anything else now after this discussion that you'd like to add, now's the time to do it. And staff will go and put together a final document for us, a legal document, and they have to explore all of these things and to see what it's going to mean for the city. How does it best benefit Elgin? How do we do it compared to what maybe Evanston does or Chicago, what theirs are like? What does it do for Elgin? And it's going to take some time. And after that, we'll have the final discussion. But this is a big document, and it's a very big thing. The moving parts here are really a welcoming city thing. It talks about city staff and what the responsibilities of city employees are, dealing with people who are undocumented. It talks about an ID card for people, an Elgin ID card. It talks about a legal defense fund as part of this. There's also a portion in there about economic development and making sure that there are opportunities for people of color to have a chance to participate in the bid, and how we educate those people and how we bring those people into the in the mix and allow them to bid. So there's a lot of moving parts on this, and
Mhm.
this discussion will be going on for the next 2 months. Council members Alfara and Dixon have said that they'll talk to city manager and provide periodic updates to at the city council meetings as the progress on where we're at with this. So we'll know all this is moving along. So that's kind of where it was at. It was kind of a lengthy meeting and it was kind of vocal. So
Yeah. Now, if anyone wants to speak to Dixon and Alfaro personally, is there a way to reach them? by
oh,
any chance?
absolutely.
Okay.
On the city's website, their contact information is there, and you can do that with any council member.
Okay.
There's also a contact form. You can send in an email that will go to the entire city council if they have a question or would like to have a discussion. If they want a personal meeting, that would be up to the council members to schedule that.
So that's a great way to get involved. If you have any other, excuse me, any other further questions or comments or concerns out there, to contact, of course, the city council members there. You can definitely do that. Again, a lot of different layers and components and parts to all of this too. So wishing everyone the best of luck with this. We do have a comment here on the YouTube side of things, kind of going back to the e-bikes.
Yes.
Someone did say that with the e-bikes and things, this person writes that they have a neighbor, someone who comes over on an e-wheel. It's a wheel with two areas to put your feet. I can only see an accident with something like that, they say. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of my thought. You know, I worry about young people that are on the scooters, and you know, you fight with a car, you're going to lose.
mhm,
And I think that's one of the things. And if they're not, especially, I've had people in my own neighborhood. I've come home from council meetings at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and I was coming down the street by my house, and I saw a light, and it was on this very low on the street. What in the world is that? And it was a young kid on a scooter
mhm,
at 9:30 at night in the dark,
yeah.
and you know, I hardly see him over the hood of my car. So I think that's it worked out okay, but I can see the danger here, and I think that's just something they're going to have to work through, and it's going to have to be upgraded. And certainly, it's one of those things that some people are going to be upset about it, and age restrictions and things like that, and maybe some training would have to go in to get a license. I don't know how they'll approach it, but good luck to them.
Yes, absolutely. Welcome back, folks, to the WRMN's Out to Lunch segment here. We are currently still in the 11 o'clock hour here talking about the Elgin City Council meeting recap. Thank you again to Mayor Dave Captain for coming in today and speaking with us.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. I wanted to continue on here. So we started off this segment or the previous segment talking a bit about the special presentations and reports. Now we're going to go back a bit into the start of it with some initiatives and other items. I wanted to start off here with Initiative A. This is Riverside WTP and Well 5A Motor Control Center improvements. There's going to be some change order number 1 for bid 25 to 35. If you want to talk a little bit about that objective.
Yes, then these are things that at this time of the year, you know, we've already gone through our budget process at the end of last year, and funds were awarded. We knew things that had to be replaced, and now this time of the year, we get a lot of bids that start coming back to us, so that the bids are finalized, and then the money can be expended to allow people to start their work. So this is one of those, and it's repairs and replacement of old equipment at the Riverside Water Plant, and some repair work that has to be done. And these are, I don't want to call them routine because they're not, but we literally will have dozens and dozens of these kind of things. They all start to come through. It takes a couple months to go out for proposals to do some of the work. Other things that were as part of our bid process at the regular council meeting is we're bidding asphalt, and we're bidding concrete for the city to use to fix potholes and for street repairs, things like that. So getting ready for the season, and one of those was changes to do at the Riverside Water Plant to make some improvements for the wells and the structures out there. Some of the roof has to be replaced and work has to be done out there and construction. So it's all part of the process of running a city.
Definitely. Going to Initiative B here, it looks like Cook County Class 6B property tax incentive for 1717 Gifford Road. If you want to talk a little bit about this.
Yes, we get these on occasion, and because Elgin straddles the county line between Cook and Kane County,
Mhm.
there are differences in the tax structures, and the property tax is higher in Cook County than it is in Kane County. And we get these requests for Class 6B property tax incentives to get businesses to move in. And the company that's PJP Holdings is looking at the old Stewart Warner plant on Gifford Road, corner of Gifford and West Bartlett Road, and they want to purchase the property and upgrade it they make plastic containers for the food industry. So the business has to go through a really big, the building has to go through a really big upgrade to make it capable of handling food grade products.
Mhm.
They make plastic bottles like for mayonnaise and salad dressing and things like that, and injection molding. They're originally planning to bring in about 200 employees, and you have to remember this building's been vacant for quite some time
Okay.
and partially used. It's used as warehousing, but it's going back to a more of a industrial use. They're a national company. They have a facility in Bartlett, and they've asked for some tax relief from the city of about $10 million. And it sounds right away, it's like a lot of money, but they need that money to upgrade the building. So they're going to put it, reinvest it back into the building. And that really is the differential between what they would pay. So we're actually putting a little money in to help them pay their property taxes in
Okay.
Cook County. And that's helps bring it on a more of a level playing field. We've had a number of those over my time here. Um, uh, and they're mostly businesses that really are very close to the property line, and they can. It's probably aggravating when you see uh, and across the street that they're paying less taxes than you are.
Hmm.
So I think that's how this kind of started, and generally the city is the first the stop here for them. They need approval from the city to agree to do this, and then they will go back now to the Cook County tax assessor and say that the city of Elgin has agreed to rebate some of this, and then the county has to vote on it and allow it to happen. So it's good for business. This is going to be a thing here that is going to generate some revenue over time, and we always look at the numbers over a long lifespan. Do we get the money back? So we do our due diligence at the beginning of this on the tax, but it's just a way to keep businesses in Elgin and to take a business that might need some help to upgrade a building and to move into a building that's part of Elgin that could use a little help. So
Hmm.
it's always a good thing.
Definitely. Are there any buildings? This is just kind of a question that popped into my brain. Are there any buildings that are on like both Cook County and Kane, like at the same time? And if
Uh,
that were to be, how would that? I mean, would you know how that would go about?
that would be a real
Yeah.
that could be a real challenge, but I could see how that could happen. It could happen pretty easily, as a
Hmm.
matter of fact. And
Okay.
yeah, I could see that. That could be. I don't think I want to go down that highway, but that
Yeah.
could be a really interesting dilemma. How do you how
Yeah.
do you do an assessment on something that's that big? But some of these buildings are very large now, and
Hmm.
you do the one that comes to mind. There's one um, used to be the old Stewart Warner building on the east side, and their property runs. They have a large piece of vacant property, and I know just across I-90 is Kane County. And when they approached us about that, they have a pretty large piece of property there, and I thought about it at that time. They talked about de-annexing from um, uh, Cook County and getting out of Cook County, and if they could come into Kane County because they have contiguous property. And that's also another thing they can do is we've had that happen,
Hmm.
where somebody can move out of one area, like the city of Elgin, for example, and moved into West Dundee for reasons, and moved back and forth
Yeah.
for a lot of it's for tax reasons.
Hmm.
So it
Very
can happen.
Yeah, interesting. Going on to number C, letter C here, we have security services for the Edward Shock Center of Elgin, Lords Park, and Wing Park. If you want to talk a little bit about this one.
Yes, a few years ago, the city of Elgin and the Elgin Police Department were in charge of security for these things, and it got to the point that it required more and more people, and we were getting more and more police calls. So to make people feel safe, we had some people that had raised some issues about being at the rec center that they didn't feel necessarily safe when they were leaving. So that's a real concern for the city, and that's the number one job for the mayor: make sure people are safe. And we decided to go out and look for security for a private security firm, and we hire Andy Frayne Services to provide security both swimming pools during the summer and at the rec center year round. And you see them as you walk in. They make sure that people are there on official business and not just coming in to loiter or hanging out. And the same thing applies at the swimming pool. And because of that's particularly important because of the vulnerable population and the vulnerable people that are there, a lot
Hmm.
of young people, to make sure that they're safe. And the cost is not insignificant. that last night it was approved for a 3-year contract of almost $1.5 million,
Okay.
$500,000 a year. But it's part of the doing the business, and people have. I think it's worked out well for us uh, on an experiment, and we're going to continue to do that. And we make sure that that there's always a presence there when they're open for business, and it's not just on a call for a service to the police department anymore. So there's somebody there to help with security.
Now, for example, here for the Edward Shock Center, would the security be both inside and outside, or one in
It can
particular?
be. There are guards that sit at the doorways, and I have seen them walk out and walk in front and around in front, especially in the evening hours. They start to look at the sidewalks around,
Hmm.
and also part of that we have security cameras on the uh, parking deck across
Okay.
the street. That's a shared parking deck with uh, uh, it's convenient. Police officers park there as well. So at the end of shift, they're moving through, and there's always a police presence there as well, and there's some camera protection there. So it's all about safety with those things. So very important.
Definitely. On to Initiative D, Athletic Facility Improvement Grant Funding. It looks like here you're providing some financial assistance to the Elgin based sports organizations. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes, and that's it stirs another conversation. I think uh, this is $150,000, and there are for projects that are at the Little League Diamonds, Babe Ruth Classic, National Little League, youth football, BMX riders, men's baseball. Oftentimes, these guys have done the work at places. They have a concession stand, for example, that needed to be reworked at Drake Field. It started to fall into disrepair. And for many, many years, these things were accomplished by volunteers. And some of these projects got too big. They can't handle it. It requires some added expertise, new roofs, for example, maybe some brickwork, those types of things. And so they ask for some assistance, and they're relatively small. Well, I shouldn't say relatively small. There some of them are pretty hefty. $45,000 for the BMX Association. That's out on at the sports complex, and there's security guard. There's security fences there. There's work that has to be done on the grounds that are included in that, and it just takes too much manpower to be able to do that. I wanted to make sure that this is also part of I'm seeing in other parts of the city and other things that go with this. These are very well run organizations, and just for one reason or another, they start to be having time constraints to be able to get their work done. These are all on schedule, so the little leagues can start on schedule. And to be able to do that sometimes takes a little bit extra money. They may have to go out and hire somebody to give them some assistance. We're seeing the same thing now because of um, the Patriotic Memorial Association out of Bluff City Cemetery does the Memorial Day program, and they can't possibly use enough people
Hmm.
to be able to put all those flags in. And there are literally hundreds and hundreds of large flags and hundreds of small flags that go on veterans' graves out there. So it's important that they've come and asked for help, and I met with them at the beginning of the year in January. And last year we provided some assistance to them because they started to fall behind. And I said, I think it's time that I said, no offense, we're all getting older. It's harder for you guys to do it. Your membership's dropping a little bit, and we'd rather have this done properly for the 250th anniversary of the country.
Hmm.
We want to make sure this is done right. So we're going to have Public Works and the cemetery staff begin work on making sure that the bases for the flags are properly secured if they have to be replaced. Um, going to have some help out there to put flags in. We still need volunteer help to do this, but it's just typical of what goes on with the city. None of these things are done by themselves. It takes a lot of volunteers
Hmm.
to do these things, and the volunteers burn out. They've done it 5 years or 7 years, and they get tired. One thing that's very important to the downtown, I look out on the street here, is the Nightmare on Chicago Street. There are lots of volunteers that are part of that,
Oh, yes.
and they are critical to make that work, and they're supplemented by city staff. So we have to kind of make sure that uh, relationship is continued and is strong, and we want to have the best events that we can have. And I learn a lot by these things, and talking to the gentleman that had worked putting the flags up, and they said the big flags out at Bluff City Cemetery take two people to put them in because their
Mhm.
flag standards are so long. To find the little hole takes
Yeah.
one guy to guide it to the hole and
Hmm.
somebody else to do the flag. And sometimes the cement wears out, and by the wind shifting that concrete base, it becomes loose, and there's more work to be done. So it's a bigger project than you think, but uh, I think it's one of the things that separates Elgin from other communities
Hmm.
is the dedication to that. And this year, it's going to be a big Memorial Day celebration. And Elgin, I believe, has the longest continuous running Memorial Day event in the state of Illinois. So it's a part of our history. It's going back almost 150 years. So if you haven't been there, come out and enjoy it, and enjoy that great ceremony.
Definitely. Now that's coming up. That's in it's May 25th. They
Yes.
have the Memorial Day program in Elgin. So
Yeah.
if you want to find more information, folks, you can go to elginmemorialday.org/events. This is going to be located. They've got a couple different ones here that you can find the different programs in Elgin. And this is again brought to you by the Elgin Patriotic Memorial Association. So definitely feel free to check out all of those different events that are going to be coming up in May, which is going to be coming up soon. I mean, just 2 months away from now.
Yeah.
And that's going to fly by pretty fast as well here too. I wanted to also talk a little bit here too. We've got about 7, 8 minutes left here for this segment. I wanted to discuss a little bit here on a renewal agreement for something that's currently still being used, and it's called Live 911 software. If you want to tell us a little bit about what this is.
Yes, that's through the Elgin Police Department, and we are constantly upgrading our um, software. And we're seeing a lot of we're being challenged,
Mhm.
I guess, by technology,
Yes.
and to keep pace with the things that are out there. Now with AI, certainly that becomes a important part of this. But the software is it can't some of it gets outdated
Mhm.
and can't be continued to be used, and it allows now police officers to live stream and to be able to talk. They can talk to be part of the conversation that's going on with 911. So it gets them more up to date, is exactly where they are. It's not just a phone call anymore or a report on a radio. It's going to allow them to become a part and parcel to this for calls for service. And this will improve life and safety issues for the people in Elgin, and it's well worth a relatively a $46,000 investment to upgrade that and use the new technologies that are out there. I think that's
Definitely.
part of what we've had great success with, and take great pride in the fact that a lot of people are talking about cameras on police officers. We were one of the first communities in the state to do that,
Hmm.
and it took our money and a will of the city council to make that decision. We thought it was a good investment for us, and it has paid us dividends many, many times. So keeping up with the technology and trying to do that for our police and fire and our public works people. We do that as well to make sure we have locators for real time to find out where our snow plows are at and where our equipment is important to how the city operates.
Definitely. So yeah, again, and technology with it growing, sometimes it can be kind of scary when it's used in certain ways that it shouldn't be. And so this is a really a powerful way to help use it for good.
Yes, and one thing, Councilman Steffens, and we have Councilman Steffens kind of been taking a little bit of a lead on this, and he asked the question every time we make an upgrade, what about security? Because we're putting so much information out
Hmm.
there, and it's personal information from our residents, it's information from the city that goes on and what the city is doing, what we're doing with bids, things like that. How do we protect ourselves? And we always talk about hackers and people being able to get into The city's computer system, can they do that? Well, probably, yeah, of course.
Hmm.
So we keep trying to upgrade the security and make sure that that's a safe part of our processes here. And I tell my wife and I tell seniors all the time, I said, don't kid yourself. I said, if they can hack you as easily as anybody. I said, if they can hack Chase Manhattan Bank and get into the bank accounts there, they can find out where Dave Captain's at.
Yeah.
And so let's be careful and
Hmm.
do the best you can, but just be aware that that's out there and be diligent. Do checks to make sure if they do find something, or if you do have something that you think is unusual or a little bit out of line, make a few phone calls and
Definitely.
call your bank. I think that's important, especially for seniors,
Hmm.
to understand that kind of stuff can be out there. But it applies to the city as well. We have to have due diligence from our our IT people to make sure that all our documents are safe and our personal information is safe.
Definitely. So IT people always are having to work to make sure that they are multiple steps ahead.
Yeah, where you try.
Yep.
Yeah.
So very,
And I,
very good.
and I said, it's always kind of funny when you have the conversation. Well, how do these people hack into this? I said, well, it's pretty easy. I said, they're the people that build the software.
Hmm.
Many of them, I said, and they're smart. I said, young people are getting into that. And I said,
Yeah.
um, many of them would have been design software designers. So there's no mystery as to how they do it. And it doesn't surprise me whenever it happens.
Yeah, definitely. So again, there are a lot of different programs out there that you can also be a part of as well. Any that are part of the Elgin Area Chamber of Commerce. Of course, also we have on the second Thursday of the month, Sherry Senior Moments. She talks a lot about that. She has a newsletter that gets sent out via subscription to her newsletter, talking about scams and things like that too. So there's a lot of different resources that are out there that are available. With the couple minutes that we have left, was there anything else that you would like to add before we head on out?
I think. Let me look at the council agenda. A couple things that were on there I think were of interest. We had final approval of the purchase of service agreement with the Chamber of Commerce, and an Elgin Development Group has been finalized, and they'll have a 3-year agreement with us. The and I think that kind of leads to we do have agreements with other governmental agencies, and we provide some funding to them or some assistance. Kane County is one. I'm trying to dig through my papers here. Um, with Kane County Child Advocacy Center through the Kane County State's Attorney's Office, Attorney for funding assistance relating to investigations of sensitive crimes involving children.
Hmm.
And Elgin is part of a part of Kane County, so we provide a little funding for them to assist them in doing the investigations that they have to do for helping people in the city of Elgin. And we sometimes we call these an intergovernmental agreement. Sometimes they're just almost like a purchase of service agreement. We do the same thing with Kane County. We pay them to help us with put together our block grant requests
Hmm.
and community block grant. Federal money comes to the city, $700,000 or $800,000 a year to go out and for at-risk neighborhoods for improvements, and it got to be burdensome for us as a city to do it. So we contracted with Kane County to help us go through that. We have a couple council members that sit on the committee, so we do have some oversight, and it works has been working out very well for us and takes some of the burden off of our staff, and really was getting problematic with the strings that are attached to getting federal money. Sometimes get to
Hmm.
be pretty long.
Definitely. I know that there's a plan for a building behind the Kane County Courthouse called the Nest Family Center is
Yeah.
another one that's being planned in Kane County too. I read that a little bit earlier, folks, during the community hour as well. So if you want to find that article, it's on kanecountyconnects.com also. So definitely feel free to check that out. We are soon taking our time out into our next hour here. Mayor Dave Captain, thank you so much once again for joining us here live in studio. Always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me. We hope to see you again in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. And again, folks, please feel free to check out more information. You can go to elginvideo.cityofelgin.org to find all the information. That includes, of course, the City Council Committee of the Whole meeting agenda. And of course, you can also look forward to other meetings that are coming up in the near future as well here too. So definitely keep in tune with that. You can also reach out, of course, to the City of Elgin. You can contact them at 847-931-6001. You can also email them elgin311@elginil.gov. Don't forget you can connect with them on X, formerly Twitter, as well as on their Facebook and other social media pages. And you can also tune in here on WRMN to, of course, our local community hour, where we do discuss all things happening locally in our community here. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Up next, we have a special guest here with St. Joseph Hospital of Elgin, the sponsor of Out to Lunch, of course. So stay tuned for that and more coming your way on WRMN.